This is Yazan Melhem, a 50-year student from the College of Medicine, University of Sharjah, and a member of Peer Advisory Committee, PAC, under PACademia. Today, we're going to have an overview about the autonomic nervous system and its effects. The autonomic nervous system is part of the body where we don't have control. It's involuntary. So the effect that happens to the heart, such as in the pumping and the rate at which it pumps, the lungs, and the digestive system, and formation of urine in the kidneys, all of that and many more are done by the autonomic nervous system. There are two main branches, the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and parasympathetic nervous system, PNS. We're going to discuss about the effects today and to know how are the effects different in each organ. There are the two broad categories, fight and flight, and rest and digest responses. The fight and flight is done by the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, and rest and digest is by the PNS. We can understand the effects of sympathetic nervous system by saying the analogy that's shown in the picture here. Lion following a person, so the person is trying to run away from a threat, and this threat is the lion, and also it could be any stressor in general. So what would happen is the person would be running away, so the heart would be popping faster and stronger, and this would be seen under sympathetic nervous system activity. There will also increase breathing because the person needs to get more oxygen to the body, so it can be taken by the red blood cells, delivered to the brain, to the muscle, and other organs. Person will not think of passing urine or stool during that time because the person is under threat, so there will be delayed or decreased peristalsis in the gut, so there will be decreased absorption, and also new retention, and the person also be sweating because of the activity and increased metabolism. The opposite would be seen with the PNS. The person would be resting, there's no threat, the person having his drink and listening to radio, all under rest. There's no threat. So by saying these effects and understanding this analogy, it can help us understand the effects of each on the body. So for the heart, the sympathetic nervous system would have increased heart rate. So you have high heart rate compared to the parasympathetic nervous system. If we look at the blood pressure readings may be higher when the sympathetic nervous system is activated. If we talk about the airways will be also dilated so that more air can be transported to the body and can be taken by the red blood cells in the blood, so it can be transported to other organs to meet their demands of increased metabolism. So we call this bronchodilation, so airways will be dilated. So this is the normal. This is how it will be. It will be wider and dilated. The parasympathetic nervous system activity would be the opposite. So in general, they're opposite of each other. So we find that they are narrower. We call it bronchoconstriction. You can see also that there's a reduction in the diameter on the lumen, and this is also seen in asthma. So in asthma, there will be bronchoconstriction, and one of its management lines is we can use a drug which has sympathetic activity, so that it can cause bronchodilation, so that it can go from this state to this. Or we can use a drug which can block the effect of the parasympathetic nervous system so that it can have the same effect. Because if we use a drug which has the same or similar effect of the parasympathetic nervous system, it can make it worse. And we don't want to do that when the patient has asthma. For the digestive system, the food moves from the oral cavity or from the mouth to the esophagus, to the stomach, and then small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and to the anus. There are also surrounding organs which help with it, liver, gallbladder, pancreas. So if a person is running away from a threat, using the same analogy, the person would not focus on absorption or completing that digestion. So the peristalsis or movement of the food from one part to the other, or like movement throughout the gut, would be slower, so it would be slower peristalsis. And if it was hyperactive or there was increased activity of the SNS, you can get constipation, or a person may get constipation. The opposite effect would be having increased peristalsis, increased secretions. If it was also hyperactive, the patient may get diarrhea. Similar idea with the urinary bladder. The person will not think of releasing urine, so there could be urinary retention under SNS activity. And for the PNS, there will be also urination or just release of urine. Now if we talk about the eyes, we want to talk about two aspects, the pupils and the lacrimal glands later. The pupils, you need better view or wider view when you're under threat. So when the SNS is activated, because it's activated under stress or when there's a threat, similar to the analogy, you get dilated pupils, we call it mydriasis. You can see that there are two muscles involved in it here. There's the circular and the radial muscles. Here, the radial muscles would contract, so it can cause the dilation. The opposite would be seen when the penis is activated. We call it meiosis, concentrated or narrower pupil. So the circular muscles will be activated here. So if we compare to the normal, this is the normal, this is wider, and this is smaller. The lacrimal gland is a gland that sits above the eye here, and the gland forms tears. So when a person cries, it's because of the lacrimal gland activation. So when the penis is working, the person may get watery eyes or lacrimation. This is called the process. And the person has SNS activation, there will be decreased lacrimation or lacrimal gland activity, so the person can get dry eyes, and the person can also complain of blurred vision or problem with vision because of dry eyes. Similar idea is seen with salivary glands. The salivary glands are a group of glands that are present in the oral cavity. The largest one would be the parotid gland, as seen here. We have also smaller ones here. So when the penis is activated, it will lead to salivation or release of saliva. This will also help with digestion. So it helps in the rest and digest response by the PNS. SNS will lead to decreased saliva formation or decreased saliva release. And if it was increase in activity, it can lead to dry mouth. The person may complain of dry mouth. The last part we're going to talk about is the sweat glands. For the sweat glands, its effect is done by the sympathetic nervous system. So when the person is under threat or running away, there will be release of sweat by the sweat glands, so it can cool the person's body because of increased metabolism, increased heart rate, and increased rate that's being done. So this is done by the sympathetic nervous system in the skin. So there will be a release of sweat from the sweat glands. And by that we finish this part of the video about the effects of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Inshallah, in other videos we're going to talk about how they achieve these effects, how they act on receptors and which cells are involved, and how it is being done. Thank you very much.